They're all saying the same things like, I want more, but it needs to be a sure thing with like a clear path and no risk.
It wasn't an easy button. You didn't like push the business in a box button and all of a sudden you sprung out and did your thing.
So I get that. And it took me a long time unlearning that and actually taking control of my future and choosing to create intentionally the future that I want, even if it takes months and years of kind of maybe not boring work, but not sexy and exciting work. Just consistency has changed everything for me.
Hello, Jamie Wilkey. Thank you.
Hi, Bridget.
Thank you for being on Minding Your Minutes. I'm looking forward to this conversation. I've been looking forward to it all week. And so you and I know each other through a couple of different avenues. I can't wait to hear more about what you're up to, but we met originally in a mastermind group for pharmacy entrepreneurs, trying to figure out what was next in our business and kind of where we were going. And I don't know about you, but I was drawn to your maximum positivity and your great big smile and the fact that you took action so quickly. And I just found it so inspiring and I love being in your presence. And then we also have this pharmacy career in common, and I forget I'm one of those sometimes. And so you can talk about that if you want to. But what I would love to do is just have you tell our viewers and listeners, who are you and how'd you get in the space?
Yeah, thank you, Bridget. I'm so glad to have you in my life and that we think similar and anyway, have been able to meet through a similar network, but then just choosing to stay in touch over years because we think so alike. And it's nice to have someone within that understands our world of being in healthcare for a career, but transitioning out of it has been wonderful. So just like you, Bridget, I'm a pharmacist by training. I worked in the retail setting for a long time and then ultimately left and created my own company with precision medicine. And I think the reason it took me so long to do that, I worked for a decade before I dared make the move, was just because of the mindset piece. And I couldn't have even quantified that that's what was holding me back. I just thought I couldn't do it. And like that my professional training didn't allow me to do cool things in life. So I would just clock in and out to a good, comfortable job. And if I wanted to be creative, I could just do that on my own time on the side. And it's just been so refreshing to do things I never thought I could and to blend it with really a creative pursuit. And it feels like almost like being an artist and like an active artistic creation to build a company and create things that have never existed in the world before with my professional degree instead of completely outside of it.
Ooh, you were speaking my language. And so I had this realization too of I was trying to do all the fun stuff outside of my work. So I was trying to live my life around the edges and making work central to everything. And perhaps that was a mindset issue. And it took me way longer than 10 years to figure it out. So what I'd love for you to unpack, because I know you worked with hundreds of people now, what are you seeing in terms of mindset about feeling stuck, or what words do you use? What words do they use?
Yeah. So a lot of common words of people who are now where I was 5 years ago have like the same verbiage. They're all saying the same things like, I'm just feeling stuck. I don't know what to do next. And until I know something that's guaranteed to work and work fast and earn me a lot of money, I don't want to do it. Like, I want a sure thing. I want more, but it needs to be a sure thing with like a clear path and no risk. And that's what I wanted for so long. And so I get that. And it took me a long time to just unlearn all of these expectations and almost the crutch of like, well, I would do something, but I don't have any experience, or I've never seen anyone do something like this, or I'm really busy, so I can't. All of these are just crutches. And I had a big one because I have 4 little kids, all boys. And so for me, for a long time, I was like, well, I could, but not only do I have this pharmacy degree that's like kind of antiquated, but I have all these kids, so I can't. And unlearning that and really actually taking control of my future and choosing to create intentionally the future that I want, even if it takes months and years of kind of maybe not boring work, but not sexy and exciting work, just consistency has changed everything for me.
Yeah. And we see it. And so, I mean, what I know of you now is this girl is the most consistent. So you show up every day on LinkedIn with intentional content with 4 little kids. And they're not as little as they used to be, but they're, and so what I love about that is that you've already unpacked it. It wasn't an easy button. You didn't like push the business in a box button and all of a sudden you sprung out and did your thing. So there, we're looking for an easy fix. At the same time, we're looking for 52 things that we need before we get started. So there's a flash, right?
Yeah. And we can't get uncomfortable or do anything that's scary, which like, if you think like that, you're never going to change and you're just going to stay stuck.
Yeah. So tell me how you help your people shift that belief or those collection of beliefs. What are your tricks and tools? I'll tell you mine.
Yeah. So to clarify my group of people, so I teach hundreds of pharmacists how to embrace precision medicine and use it to create side income with their career. It's kind of like the first baby step to earn your own money outside of corporate structures, which I wish I could have done for a long time. And so the most important things, the 3 most kind of important things that we cover with mindset in the beginning are: 1, that you are enough. You are qualified to do what your heart wants to do. Because I think maybe it's because we're professionals. We keep thinking that like if someone's smarter in the world at us than a topic, then we can't speak or help someone. And just to understand that people need you uniquely. And 2, to bring your full personality to your work and not try to be someone else or not try to fit into a box because you think that's what success is. It's blending, following the subject that you're interested, combined with your personality makes you so unique in the world. And 3, just to do the consistent, boring work that over months and years makes all the difference rather than chasing a million squirrels and either doing a million different things or doing nothing, to just consistently take the single right next step to move forward.
Yeah. So very actionable and practical advice, which is what I would have anticipated.
Well, tell me, now tell me you too. How do you help?
It's similar in some ways in that we're both at the intersection of mindset. So, and we get a lot of the same people, to be honest. And so your people are trying to build a business around some stuck places in mindset. My people are some of the same people trying to create a life and build a business and take care of their health and well-being. So my people now I've created this business with a full-time job and maybe a family, and I forgot to take care of myself. So it's the same mindset. I don't have enough time. I need some, list of special practices, or I need an easy button to take care of my well-being. Like, does it come in a bottle or a pill? I'll buy it. Is it some supplement, or is it? And then when we start talking about collections of practices and just taking small daily actions, like, that wasn't very hard. I kind of feel better. So it's very similar. So we're unraveling those beliefs that they're not enough. They're not worth their own time. In my case. What if you believed you were worth taking care of yourself? What if you did better work in the world? And what if you took better care of your family if you took better care of yourself? What could that look like? What would that give you the time, the energy, the attention, the money to do if you took care of yourself? So we're saying the same thing and ultimately achieving the same results, I think.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Cool. Yeah. And so happier people come out at the other end of this, certainly more engaged in whatever it is that they're doing. They're more present. And a lot of times they make more money, which is also cool.
Oh, yeah.
But ultimately not the only thing they were looking for. And so in my case, it's the energy that really gets them hooked. Of like, I feel better. I can't really explain all the reasons that I feel well now, but it's the energy to take action that they're really going, what's this? So they're not stuck in their spin cycle of their negativity and worry and fear and all of those mindset traps.
Yeah, I wish I had known about this subject years ago. I had no idea. Bridget. Where were you 10 years ago in my life? I needed you because I just accepted all of like these, maybe I wouldn't have even defined them as negative, but just like, well, it's the truth. Like I can't do this. My life is hard. I'm busy. I'm overwhelmed, and just accepted that as truth and as reality. And now after a lot of learning to maybe not take what my brain's telling me as truth and think like, what are these thoughts? Am I choosing to believe them? How are they influencing my behavior? Because as you very well know, how you think determines your whole reality, and controlling your narrative and your thoughts and how you perceive every interaction in the world changes everything when you take ownership of that.
Yeah, it's ownership, but lightly held.
Yes.
So because otherwise it's just another story of how it's so hard to be me. And so I love the fact that you help them unravel their stories, because that's really what I listen to, the language that people are using to talk about themselves. So talk about their business, talk about their health, talk about their relationships. And so once I can hear it for a while, then eventually they can too. And you're doing the same thing of just like, did you hear what you just said, in a really loving way?
Yeah.
And so when we know that we're believing our own thoughts, we can change those thoughts and beliefs. And I suspect you have tools to do that. And I would love to share a little bit of mine, but what is it? How do you help them get to reframing their beliefs, whatever you call that?
For me, including a journaling practice is really helpful, and just like dumping everything in your brain. Because I know for me, that's been enormously helpful, that every day before I go to sleep, I'll just write something in my journal and have a very low expectation to like just do a sentence or two. But usually I find I'm filling pages as just a way to dump all of my ideas and put them in one place, and to just like get it out of your head and see it. Because I don't know if it's just me, but it feels like when thoughts are in my head, they just spin and spin and spin and almost grow and snowball. But when I can take them and put it on paper, it almost frees me of that. And I can see more objectively and problem solve rather than just thinking and worrying. So it's simple, but I love that one, Bridget.
It's simple and you do it.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. And there is that whole, your head is for just holding ideas for a moment so that you can get it down and decide what to do with it. So that spin cycle of anxiety is when we're trying to make it different than it is.
Yes.
I shouldn't be thinking this way. Well, reality shouldn't be this way. Well, those people shouldn't be this way. It's all the judgment.
Yes.
That's really most of the anxiety, is all the way that we're judging our thoughts. And so I know you've seen the lizard before.
Yes.
So
I love it.
But I have got, what I've been using with people too, in addition to the journaling, is really getting clear on naming those saboteur voices. And so to the point of, oh, my hyperachiever avoider is in play here, because that's me. So when I get in the spin cycle, my first tendency is to add more stuff to my calendar. And then I have so much stuff on my calendar that I go, oh, shoot, I can't do any of that because no human could. And then I go, oh, here we are again. Yeah. So that I look at my calendar, and when it looks like a crazy person made it out, I know that my saboteur voices are in charge. And then I can feel it in my body. So those are my two markers. And so when I'm working with people, there's a lot of unconscious work. So it could be hypnosis, it could be REM, it could be all sorts of things to really help them hear those beliefs at an unconscious level. And then at a conscious level, it's who are the saboteur voices. And then we get into body and play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I brag about you for a second?
Journal. Huh?
Can I brag about you for a second?
Yeah, absolutely.
So right before this podcast interview, I went out to lunch with one of my friends here in Utah who was traveling through Utah for a conference, and she and I met for lunch. And she's like, this morning I was talking with my coach, Bridget, and we were reviewing like my saboteurs. And every day I get like little reminders, and I'm really working on this saboteur right now. And like, we talked about this for almost an hour. I had no idea that she knew you and that we were going to be talking an hour later. And anyway, what you're saying is really working and helping people, because to identify these things and what makes us unique and to name it and see what we're doing, there's a testimonial. It is working, because I just talked about it an hour ago. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I wish the saboteur work was original. It is not. And that is okay. Hey, but the power in that simplicity of this is naming it so that you can do something with it. Positive intelligence is the program. It is fabulous, because once you know it, then you can act upon it, which is exactly what you're doing, and bringing it to the conscious place where it's just an item on a to-do list. Not quite so scary. And it's not so much the identity, like the story shifts so much. And that's what I love, is you're not so bought into all the reasons you can't do the thing you really want to do. It's easier to get out of your own way. Yeah. I want to know more about what are your people doing once they've addressed some of these mindset beliefs in their businesses? What are you seeing? What happens?
So I'm seeing two things. One, they get more confident in themselves. And it's like before were just spinning and looking for like a true north. And then they just like, we were talking about this right before we went live. Like you see that moment when they just like lock on, and like, it's like the confidence comes into place and the clarity comes into place, and they can just like are locked onto their target, and they can just work like undistracted from the world. It's like they get in the bubble and like their zone of genius, and like seeing that like, oh, they found their thing. And they're like, maybe calling is a bit of a strong word, because it can take a while to find it if you're not used to, thinking in this way, but it's like something clicks and they just put on the blinders and go and get from wishy-washy, overwhelm. They still might feel those feelings, but they're not letting their feelings determine their actions. And they're just working regardless if they feel scared or not. And it's really cool to see it. And it takes a while. Like some people instantly are like, oh, thank you. I have permission to do this thing I want to do and really help patients instead of medicate them. I'm in. And other people, it takes months just to, come to terms with such freedom and such a different way of thinking and working. But once they get it, it's just so cool and rewarding to see that, man, once you don't have excuses and you have a little bit of confidence, or at least trajectory, you can accomplish so much in all the same amount of time you had before. You were just using it differently.
Yeah. And so it feels way different. Once that that light bulb moment of like, oh, I can do this because I just did it yesterday. I mean, there's this, I already did it.
Yeah.
It's like, what? And then suddenly there is time. And there's energy, and the momentum is what really helps people move forward from there, because once they have that thing that's pulling them toward what they want, then they're just off the races, and then they get stuck, and then you have to go back again. But one of the things that I wonder what you think about this is the positivity that's pulling them toward what they want, versus that negativity of spin. It's different, like even magnetically, it's different. You're either going down the tube or you're going up the spiral.
Yeah. And people frequently say that, like using like freeing verbiage, like, oh, this just feels so free and so clear. And like, it's not like they have less work or more time. It's actually usually the reverse. Like once you start something, it does take more of a lift at the beginning, but it's like they don't care because they're doing what they are meant to be doing. And so they're funneling that energy into something that's meaningful instead of, spending the time wondering or worrying or sticking their head in the sand and ignoring all of that energy that we have to funnel it into something that's actually going to like develop you personally and professionally, and eventually turn into an asset. Just feels so good to pour that energy into action rather than just leaving it in our body, like feeling all the feels. Because as humans, we have a lot of feelings.
A lot of feelings. And we think they mean something, and they think it means there's something wrong with us. No, they're just feeling. So that's what I love about this mindset work. It's like, you don't have to believe your feelings or your thoughts. You can still take action.
Oh, exactly. That was one of the biggest things I learned, that like you can act regardless of how you feel. And obviously, like the better you feel, the higher quality your actions are. But for a while, you just have to learn to say like, oh, my brain says it's tired. My brain says, I don't want to do this. My brain says, let's just scroll Instagram instead. That's more fun. And when you can say, noted, I'm still going to do my most important work, even if I don't feel like it, has been really cool, because a lot of the time we don't feel like doing the things we should be doing. And like, we just don't want to. And when you let that gut reaction have control over your body, I don't know, like you stay stuck. But when your brain is in charge, it feels really good to work despite your feeling.
Yeah, it's awesome. And so it's like letting your grown-up be in charge instead of your inner 2-year-old that just doesn't want to.
Yeah, because that's how we all feel. Like everyone, every day, it's part of being a human. They're like, I don't want to get up. I don't want to do, like, I want the result of doing this project, but I don't want to start it. There's so many things we don't want to do, but learning to just do it and do it first. I wish I had known that earlier.
Yeah, and it's good because, and so we're coming around to tactics. I suspect you have some to structure your day.
Do you want me to tell you my day structuring tactics for productivity?
Absolutely. Yeah. What are yours? Because I actually put my health and well-being into my calendar, or I don't do it. Put time with my husband in my calendar, not always, but I do. I put my people in my calendar.
Yeah, because what's on your calendar you show up for is like unquestionable. Like, oh, this 3 p.m. meeting, gotta go. Anyway, so I start the night before. The night before I go to bed, I write down in my little journal. I'm a very manual person. I write down the 3 things I have to do the next day that are most important. So I'm very clear before I go to sleep. What are the 3 most important things versus busy, like checking email-y things? Those will always be there. I write those before. And then when I wake up, the first thing I do is not check my phone or check my email. I intentionally don't do anything work-related until I've read my scriptures, said my prayers, done some sort of exercise for the morning that just makes me feel good, and like have breakfast with my family. And then once my spirit is feeling good, once my body is moved, then I start in on the projects that matter most. Even if they're little tasks, doing the hard things very first, especially after I've exercised. It's something like exercising gets me more prepared to like, oh, I got to do this hard lesson or whatever. I just do it first. And then maybe because I'm like a precrastinator instead of a procrastinator, love just checking off the most important things for the day. And then it feels like the rest of the day is more downhill. I'm like, okay, now I can attend meetings. Now I can respond to emails. Now I can tidy up the house or whatever. It's like doing those most important things first. The rest of the day just feels easy after that. And then when it's like after bedtime and I can finally have downtime, I haven't put the hardest things till the end of the day and then pushed them again.
Yeah.
I already did it. So I can relax at night, which is very important to me.
Yeah. And so, I mean, you've described a scenario that supports your own well-being, not at the expense of your family, not at the expense of your work. And that we're all afraid that if I do this work, I won't have time for myself. Or if I take time for myself, it's because I'm selfish. And that's so not true. I mean, you just described a pretty simple system. And that's what, it's always about what works for the person. But what I love about that is you fed your body with actual food.
Real food. I love food.
Food, like actual food, which is all another conversation. You spent time with your people. You connected with your family. You also had a spiritual connection. So we've got mind is engaged with the work that's most important to you first in the morning. We've already got mind, body, spirit, surroundings before 9 a.m.
Yeah. Well, I just find it ruins my day. And sometimes I still struggle with this because sometimes I wake up and like on my phone, I see Slack and there's like 15 messages and I'm like, oh, okay, something's gone wrong today. Let me just put out some fires. And when I do that and like break my own rules, the rest of the day, it's just hard. You just spiral and like, it's like one little thing like, okay, well, let me just see what's going on. And then you have all of your problems up front. Anyway, it never serves me, but I still fall into it sometimes. It's not like it's never a struggle, especially with phones and alerts, and like, it's so easy to just check in on things. But
dopamine hit.
I know, we love those dopamine hits. Our life is ruled by them.
Yeah. And so you haven't always had this really strong set of practices. You developed them over time because you knew that what you were doing before wasn't working. And so, when you fall off the wagon. So It sounds like social media is one of the places, if you check it early in the morning, it kind of sends you into that spiral.
Oh, yeah. No social media in the morning, and really very limited in general, because it can just take so much of your time.
Yeah. And what are your other like triggers that you're off balance?
My other triggers I'm off balance is when I just get annoyed with my kids for being kids. I'm like, you guys are so messy. Like, why is your room not clean? Why are you guys being loud? And I'm like, I have 4 boys, 11 and under. Yeah. And that usually means that I've done trying to do too much work and then seeing them, and I expect them to be perfect. And really that sense of play and getting outside helps me loosen up a lot. So I take since I work from home, I take like a lot of walks around the block. And when my schedule isn't too packed and I've been outside and in the sun and just not listening to things, not talking to people, then when my kids come home from school, I'm like, oh, hello, my cuties. I'm so happy to see you. And it just changes the whole relationship the rest of the night. And most of it I've determined is coming from me. Like, I set the tone in my house as a mother. And if I'm grumpy and like, you guys, why are your backpacks on the floor? Starting it off that way, it just leaves everyone grumpy, versus even if I'm not feeling particularly pepped or like I have time to bond with them, knowing that like, okay, still be fun, be excited that they're home, because it just sets the tone differently. And then it's like by faking it, your body gets into feeling it. And I'm like, okay, I'm so happy you're home. Let's have like a little dance party. Then I got to go to more meetings. I don't know. It changes.
It works. Yeah. And so it's about the energy exchange again, which is not woo-woo stuff. It's, their little mirror neurons are responding to yours, And so you've got the morning practices, and it sounds like you do some other things during the day when you notice the kind of the flash of irritation or frustration or your energy's flagging or whatever. And we all have our recipes for that. And I really love that you're intentional with it. So you're outside, you're playing, like superpower is play. Yeah.
Well, and I think, I'll just really quick interrupt.
Yeah.
I think it's forced from entrepreneurship, because entrepreneurship takes over your life. And I did the grinding stuff for a long time and not having balance and like having the freedom of time, or even not, but just stuffing my time full of grinding away and like meeting with everyone I could and like doing the work, and could do it for a while. But after months and years, saw that like, oh, my family is not ideal. I didn't go to create a business so I could work 80 hours a week instead of 40. I think entrepreneurship particularly almost forces you to either find that balance, or it's very easy to kind of go off the rails and lose all balance.
Yeah. And create exactly what you were trying to get out of when you left your corporate job. Yeah. And so to me, that is where that intersection happens, is really intentional taking care of yourself so that you don't just overwork. Welcome to, like a couple of decades in my life, but no. and so, helping your people find that recipe, whatever that is for them in their business, to give them balance and really what they want, is what's putting that big smile on your face.
Heck yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so now you've kind of found a balance, and you have some time and space to know what you want and create things. What's next? What are you creating now?
Oh, I'm leaning a lot more into writing, because I found with digital, like I started digital writing on LinkedIn just because I wanted to like participate in this whole world I didn't know existed for so long. And now developing that writing into creating a paid newsletter for white coats, just exploring all of these things of like mindset, entrepreneurship, accumulating wealth, and creating like a physical form of my writing, as well as starting to do live events. Bridget, we're going to do our first live event, like in real life, this fall. So a lot of fun, big things coming.
I can't wait. And so when you would like to send that over this direction, when you're ready, I want to know about it. So I can tell my people about it. Yeah. So that's exciting. So live events to work with your clients on exactly what we're talking about here.
Exactly. And like, because at this point they know the basic framework of how I work. And so now it's really about applying it to their own situation, because professionals are really good at learning. We're so good at learning. But when it comes to applying, especially in our own life, it can be harder. So I think it's the perfect time to finally do a live event. I've wanted to do them for a while. I know you do them. They look so cool. I just want to be cool like Bridget and
right.
do it. And even though I don't know that I always feel ready, but you just have to start before you feel ready and just do that thing your heart wants to do.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. So really feeding your spirit. So Jamie, I so appreciate your time and your energy and your presence as always. So thank you. Is there anything else that you'd like to just impart to us with one more word of wisdom?
Oh, it's much scarier to be scared than to do the thing you're scared of. And I don't know, just encourage you to not let fear take over your life, because I felt that for a long time. And it's better to feel the fear of doing the new thing, because it's actually way less and much more invigorating to do the thing your heart wants to do.
Do the thing. Yes. Thank you for all of the time and wisdom. And I will see you soon. And I know that everyone that's watching or listening will love this. So thank you, Jen.